The Renolux Next Comfort car seat, which is a group 0 to 1, taking the child from birth through till 13 kilograms rearwards facing, and then in the group 1 stage from approximately 9 kilos through to 18 kilos. Essentially, we wouldn't have the child turning forwards facing until they're a minimum of 9 kilograms and sitting up unaided on their own. Then we can turn the seat and have it forwards facing. And to start off with, I'll show you it in the rearward facing mode. In the rear facing position, we've got it in the full reclined position. What we then must do is take the diagonal seat belt down the front of the seat, underneath the shell. I'll locate it inside of these guiders here, positioned underneath. We'll slip the belt underneath one, underneath two. Once we've got it positioned under both of those, we can then click it into the buckle as normal. Give it a gentle pull so we ensure that we've got as much slack through as possible. Taking the belt then around the back. We've got a blue Velcro strap here that just assists in the positioning of the belt. Stick the diagonal belt under there and re-Velcro it. Once we've got the lap belt positioned in the crack position and clicked into the buckle, we can take the diagonal seat belt, slide it in between the two metal prongs, ensuring that the actual device, the tensioning device, is positioned at the same angle that the belt is naturally coming from. Take the lap diagonal section, Velcro it through the top bit. Before we go any further, we must ensure that we've locked and engaged the inertia reel, keeping a hand on that section there to make sure it stays locked. We can then come around and operate the tensioning device, continually ratchet away until we get a maximum amount of tension onto the actual lap belt section. Like so. Once it's locked in place, if we do a little check down at the beginning of the seat belt, we've got sufficient tension there. That is telling us that the seat is now positioned and secured safely into the vehicle. Removing this product out of the vehicle, all we do is repeat that process, starting by undoing the buckle section, which releases the tension off there. We now want to release the tension off the diagonal belt, push up slightly to release that. Once that's released and all the tension is off the top and bottom section of the belt, we can now simply pull that off, the tension of there. Removing it then out of the vehicle, we can take the belt around, repeat the process, removing the lap belt section out of the lap belt guides. In the Renolux Next Comfort, in the Group 1 stage, if we recline the seat, it just gives us easier access to the rear section of the seat. What we do again is place the diagonal seat belt up to the vehicle's roof just for a good length guide. Take hold of it, pass it through from one hand to the other hand, and click it into the buckle. Once positioned into the buckle, ensure the lap belt is sitting in the trough indicated by the red markings. We can then place a diagonal seat belt into the seat belt tensioner like so. Ensure we've got as much slack out of the seat to start with. Lock off the diagonal seat belt, keep the tension on there, and then operate the seat belt tensioner down here to take as much of that slack out of the seat as possible. Like so. Once fitted, ensure it's tight at the beginning section of the seat, which ensures that we have the slack out of all of this product. Grab the child's harness, give a good sharp pull forwards, and we're looking for less than an inch of movement from the top of the seat. You'll see with this type of product we get very, very little movement if fitted correctly using the tensioning system. We're using the harness on this Group 1 seat, whether it's in its Group 0 or Group 1 stage. We'll use the button under here to lengthen the harness and the strap there to pull it nice and tight. Now, a unique system we have on here, when we lengthen the harness, as we undo the buckle, we can then place the seat belts under the elastic at the sides, or if we have a child that knocks them, it keeps those out of the way for when we're fitting the child into the vehicle. When fitting the Renolux Next Comfort, ensure that we have the harness positioned nice and tight before we start to fit it. The essential reason for this is, if we have the harness loose from when we had the child last in it, we have the potential chance that the harness could drop down, and then as we're feeding the adult seatbelt through, get it the wrong side of the child's harness. So whenever we're fitting the product, always ensure we have the harness put nice and tight before we start to feed the seatbelt through. When we're feeding the seatbelt through into the vehicle, if we start off by having the diagonal seatbelt pulled to the top of the roof of the vehicle just for a good length, we can then pass it straight through the back of the seat without fear of entangling it with the child's harness. As we feed the belt through, click it into the buckle as normal, slide the diagonal seat belt through the tensioner, like so. On the other side, the diagonal belt will take its natural position just sitting through the frame. Ensure that we take as much slack out of the belt as possible, pull and engage the diagonal seat belt, and then operate the tensioner down here to take as much slack out of the seat as we possibly can, far more than we'd physically be able to do ourselves, which now ensures that we have a lovely bit of tension down at the beginning, and it also fits the seat to the vehicle very securely. We must ensure that we have less than an inch of movement from the top of the seat. By using the tensioner system on this product, we'll ensure that we get it tighter. Other features with regards to the Renolux Next Comfort, we have the ability to recline it once it's fitted safely into the vehicle by pressing the paddle underneath here, pushing the seat up for upright, middle positions, and to the full recline position if the child's falling asleep. Other things that we need to remove as the child gets bigger, we have the ability to remove these pad sections here as the child grows, plus also removing those sections when the child gets a lot older. As you'll see, we have different harness positions which will be used when the child grows. We'd obviously start off in the lower position if we use it in group 0, moving through into that position as the child grows, and into the final position there. When a child's shoulder reaches level with any of the positions, that is indicating then that we move it through to the next position. And when removing the Renolux Next Comfort, we start off by undoing the buckle, move the seat slightly over towards the inertia reel so we can release the inertia to that slack, which then allows us easily to twist that around and just pull the seatbelt straight off the tensioner and moving the seatbelt out of the frame, ready to fit in the next vehicle. Now, as the child grows, moving the child's harness up and down, start off with the harness nice and long, which allows us to gain access at the back of the seat to the tensioner there. In the upright position, we can gain better access from the back of the seat to get hold of the yoke. Start off by removing one side. If you're unsure, always just do a single side at a time rather than trying to do both of them. You can do both of them once you know where you're going. Allow that to sit there so we ensure we get no twists on the actual yoke. We can then release the chest pads off the clip at the back here. Like so. Which will allow us now to pull all of the harness sections through into the front section of the cabin. By pulling through like so. We can then move these back through a lower one or a higher one, depending on how large the child is. Get both of them, feed them through, having them then at the rear of the seat, and reconnecting them back together. Same to the other side. Ensure when we are doing this we haven't got any extra twists in the product. So those are at the back of the seat. Start off by connecting the shoulder straps together, like so, ensuring that bit does drop inside of the little hook. We can then replace the the main harness straps onto the yoke system, like so. Feed that back down to there, and then pull the harness nice and tight. Do a visual check to ensure we haven't got any twists on the product, and we're ready for the next stage. With the Renolux Next Comfort, we have a belt tensioner situated on both sides of the seat. If we should have at any time have any need to remove this, what we'll find is a little nut at the back of the seat there. Now, before we start removing it, if we fit the seat into the reclined position by pulling the paddle there to drop it in recline, it gives us nice easy access to this component. We then need a 10mm spanner. By placing the spanner onto the nut like so, we can then hold the spanner and wind that product in an anti-clockwise direction to remove it. You'll see there it's going to be nice and loose. We'll continue to do so to remove it. And I'll just show you on the other side how to actually put it in position. Now, here's one I made earlier. Placing this product onto the actual device, remove the washer, remove the unit, place it through the hole itself, put the washer on, grab the nut, place the nut into position. You start off by just using your fingers just so you can hold it into place. Wind it a few times round so we know it's gripped into position. Then we can use the spanner to grab the nut itself, so we can position that onto there, and again continue to wind that around in a clockwise direction until we're nice and tight and secure. Now the product is held on by a nylock washer and nut, so once that's positioned and locked tight, that won't loosen off, then enables you to pivot that around dependent on the position of the belt to grab a secure location. You'll see that the nut itself swivels around with the product so it will not loosen.